If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by Arsh the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Property Rebel with your host, Arsh. And in today's episode, I want to ask you a very simple question. What makes you special? Now, it sounds like a real random question, and why should I be asking this on a property podcast? And the reason why I ask you is very simply, it's that what makes you, or should I ask, what sets you different from all the rest that are out there in the property space? Now, I really always have to ask this question of not only myself, but of all the people around me. Now, in Wolverhampton, I'm surrounded by letting agents, estate agents. I'm surrounded by lots of other property professionals. Plus, we've got some quite big hitters around the West Midlands. So what makes me different to any of them? Why should someone do a deal with me? Now, first thing I would say to you is get a piece of pen. Get a pen, get a paper, just so that you know this podcast is completely one take, which means that there's no editing. What you hear is what you get. You'll get some ifs, ums and ahs, but believe it or not, that's actually okay. So get a piece of paper, get a pen, and I want you to write down what you think all your great qualities are, which makes you a great property investor. And more importantly, the reason why I ask that is that sometimes you get involved in property and you're chasing the wrong strategy. And you're chasing it just purely because you think that's the thing that's going to make you the most money. Now, you've got to ask yourself the question, is money the main motivator here? Are you doing this to make the most money, or are you doing it to buy yourself time and freedom? Now, this question, believe it or not, has been covered by lots of people. And I've listened to loads of podcasts about this because I fell into the trap of chasing money. But in actual fact, what I really wanted was freedom. And I personally believe that I've found freedom. And the reason why I say that is because we all chase money. And with money, we get to buy nice things. With nice things, I believe we fall into a rat race. We all want a nice car. We all want a nice house. We all want nice holidays. Now, these things come at a cost. And the more accustomed that we become to that lifestyle, we fall into a rat race, which means that we've got to work twice as hard to afford the next nice car, the next nice watch, the next nice holiday, and the next nice item. Do you kind of resonate with that? I was personally guilty of that. I wanted a nice car. Once I got a nice car, I wanted a second nice car, or I wanted a better holiday, or wanted something. And I've put my kids through private school. That costs money. The car costs money. The watch costs money. The house costs money. Therefore, I've got to start making more money. Does this kind of resonate? And I went from one job to almost like making another job for myself, where in actual fact, the reason why I got involved in property is because I wanted freedom. Now, what does freedom look like to you? Freedom for me defines I can do what I like, when I like, with who I like. However, because I was chasing money, I felt that I kind of sold my soul by just doing a deal because there was money involved. So I'm going to give you a few examples of how I felt I sold my soul and how I kind of bought my soul back, and how I've got to this position of freedom. Now, before I was buying HMOs, I was self-managing, I wasn't leveraging my time to the best possible use. And I felt that, yes, I was creating assets and I was quite asset rich and cash flow rich, but I was time poor. So it felt like, remember what I wanted? I wanted freedom. So yes, I built an asset base, but I still didn't have what I really set out to desire, which was freedom. So what I started to do is I started to offload some stuff. When I say offload, I started to delegate, I started to outsource some of the responsibilities. So now, before I would self-manage the best part of 500 to 600 tenants, which means that I would take the calls for lettings, I would do the viewings, I would start to get the calls from the maintenance as well as collect the rent. I was trying to be the one-man band. And it took me years to kind of let go of the control. I'm a bit of a control freak, and I don't mind saying that, but it took me years to actually let go of the realms and pass it over to someone else. Luckily, I built a letting agency specifically to look after my properties. So I've not completely let go, because I still oversee how many vacancies we've got, what kind of rent we've generated that month. It's just another level of control. If I gave it to another letting agency, I wouldn't be able to have that level of control. So you can see the control freak in me, and I don't mind sharing that with you. However, I sat down once I'd got rid of that responsibility of the day-to-day running of the portfolio, and I kind of sat down and said, well, what is it that I really want? I know that I want to buy back my time, which I've managed to get, but what else do I want to do in property? Because naturally, I like to think myself as a deal maker. I don't like a slow pace. So when I looked at all the strategies, giving you an example now, with a development, if I was going to go into development, I think it's quite a slow process. So what I wanted to be in a position where something was fast paced, more importantly, I'm able to make money quickly. Remember, I've used the word money again, which I didn't really want to, but I've used the word money. I wanted to make money quickly. I wanted it to be fast paced. I didn't want to have to deal with tenants and hassle, and I wanted to be able to do it anywhere and start and stop it whenever I wanted it to. So I looked at all the things. As a developer, that didn't tick the box. First of all, is that developments, you've got to acquire the site, then you've got to go through planning, then you've got to go through the tender process, then you've got to go and build it. And I was speaking to someone about this today, and someone says, Arsh, why are you not building again? And I said, well, I've been a developer going back to circa 2004 to 2008. And what I found with developments is that I'm the last person to be paid. So first I've got to acquire the site, then I've got to put out some funds for planning costs, professional costs, then I've got to go to tender, then I've got to pay the builders, got to pay the site managers, etc., etc. Then I've got to pay the staging team, the furnishing team. And generally speaking, out of a development, the general profit margin is around 20%, 20 to 25%. So if a gross development value is £1 million, the profit margin on that site is going to be circa between £200,000 to £250,000. Now, when you look at this in units, depending on the style of properties that you're building, whether it be houses or apartments, that could be 1 or 2 apartments in the whole scheme. Now, the problem that you've got is that if you've got leverage, you've got lending on the site, my issue is that I've got to put all the money out, then I've got to sell all the units, and I've got to wait until the last 1 or 2 units before I actually make any money. And by that point, because I know I've only got 1 or 2 units left, what happens when you're on the last 1 or 2 units? You kind of become a motivated seller. So your margin then drops from 20% back down to circa 15% by the time you've put in your incentives and your discounts. And I thought, well, for 15%, I can make that money work better elsewhere, and I don't have to wait circa 12 to 18 months for that money to come in. Does that kind of resonate with you? So my rules in property are very simple. I want to be paid first instead of last. I want it to be quick. I want it to be quite aggressive. I want it to do it when I want, where I want, and from whatever location I choose. And the question that I asked you at the start, what makes you special? I like to think that I'm quite a good negotiator. I like the fact that I can pick up the phone to anyone and everyone and have a conversation, and I've got the kind of negotiation skills that allows me to almost connect with everyone. That's not blowing smoke up my own backside. That's unfortunate. That's how I am. And I've built a massive network of property investors, over 113,000 property investors, just from having my personality type. So I think I've done something right, and we've traded tens of thousands of deals, of property deals. I'm now the UK's, I'm the person that's created the UK's first property investment app called Property Investor, and we've created almost like a marketplace where we sell our deals on the app. Now, for me, that has been, I think, a real, I'd say, a key point in my property career, because now and only now do I kind of feel completely free. The app runs itself. We've created almost an automated app. So we have to upload properties. So how the process kind of works is very simple. Is that the deals come in, I've got a group of people that appraise the deals and look at it, and they come back to me and say, Arsh, what do you reckon, yes or no? They just give me the headline figures. I look at it, it takes me approximately a minute. A property could go, okay, I can see what you've done here. Yes, I like that. That's going on the app. It then goes up to the team that uploads it to the app. We've then got a support team that takes all the calls. Once it's uploaded onto the app, they then arrange the viewings. If someone likes it, then goes through the legal team and the finance team. And literally, I love the thought that I've created a web-based business which operates without me really being there. And as a result, I can operate it from anywhere in the world. Now, before I set this business up, I sat down with a piece of pen and paper and I went through the process. In property, what do I like? What do I not like? You know, going back to my points, I want to be paid first. How do I do that? I've gone back to the points. What do I like? I like it to be quite aggressive, fast paced, and so that we can move quite quickly. And I looked at all the things: rent to rent, buy to let, HMOs, blocks of flats, development, serviced accommodation, commercial to residential, planning aids. I went through all the strategies literally one by one, and I did the pros and cons of each part. And I literally stripped each strategy down bit by bit and said which part I liked out of that strategy and which part I didn't. Now, the beautiful thing with deal sourcing is the fact that I can look at pretty much every style of property and not get attached to it, because I'm not buying it, I'm simply controlling it. And that's what's allowed me to create the UK's first property investment app called Property Investor. Sounds like a plug, but believe it or not, it's actually, when it says what makes you special, the only way that I found, well, not say the only way that I found, but it was by looking at my characteristic traits, which kind of brought me to the path to where I am today and where I am right now. And the fact that I've created a business which allows me to travel freely, create decent amount of cash flow, and not have to worry about control and not have to worry about owning any more assets. I kind of had to have a chat with myself almost 2 years ago and say, Arsh, I think enough is enough. We've got the best part of 1,100 tenants in the portfolio. Do I need any more properties? And you know, with all due respect, one of the problems that I've got with being a deal source, a deal trader, is that, and it's a good problem to have, I see all the deals first before they go anywhere else. So I'm pretty much exclusive to all the deals nationwide across the country. And I see some phenomenal deals, and part of me thinks, should I buy this? Should I do this? And then the other part of me thinks, no, Arsh, no more. We've got enough. Let it be. So I actually haven't bought anything for the best part of 12 to 18 months. I've got a couple of deals going through at the moment, but these are deals that are land deals where we're going to go off and get planning and sell them. So we're not actually owning them. And believe it or not, I'm not actually buying them. I'm putting an option on the land, getting the planning permission and selling it with its new benefit of planning permission and literally benefiting from the gain. So one of my previous podcasts was about how to be the most strategic, or, you know, the most strategic always wins. And we'll talk about more strategies as to how you can simply control and make money. One of the most famous quotes that I came across was the Rockefeller family said, the ones who are most successful simply control and do not necessarily own. And when we look at some of the largest companies in the world right now, Facebook doesn't own any content. Instagram doesn't own any content. It's actually all uploaded by the user. Netflix doesn't actually own any films. They just license it. We've got to look at Uber. They don't actually own any transport. So when I looked at creating a business, I kind of followed that model. How do I simply take someone else's asset and manipulate is quite a strong and probably a wrong word. And I said, well, how can I use someone else's asset for my time and I still get paid for that? And so when you look at property, lots of you will be on different parts in your property journey. Some of you may be starting out, so you may need to do some of the stuff that I've been through, like controlling someone else's asset. And if that's the case, you go through like something like a rent-to-rent or a lease option. Some of you may still want to buy more assets and build up your asset class, and there's nothing wrong with that. Believe it or not, you've got to build something for a rainy day. And so that is where you may be looking at single lets, you may be looking at HMOs, you may be looking at blocks of flats, you may be looking at developments to build to rent or build to sell. And there's nothing wrong with any of those, but you've got to do it according to what your end values are and your end goals are. Because if your end goal is to become financially free and also time free, and actually free as a person, you've got to see which one of those are going to align with your values. And it took me a while to get there. I'll be completely honest. It took me a long time to get there, but I'm in a really good space where now we've got multiple businesses bringing in multiple streams of income. And as a result, I can step back and concentrate on working on other businesses. As a result of stepping back, it's allowed to open up a lot more opportunities for me. More opportunities come along. And again, everything that I build now is going in the same form of simply control, not own. So we've got a couple of other ventures that we're currently working on. Hopefully that I'll be able to release to you within the next episode or two. And I think that will be a game changer in some parts of the property world. So what makes you special? Write down what your key attributes are, and then figure out what strategy is going to work best for your attributes. And more importantly, what does it align with? We'll see some people that will say, I want to travel the world. I want to go and spend more time with my family. I don't want to work as hard. So you've then got to have a look at what strategy you're currently on, and does that kind of align? Taking on 50 rent-to-rent properties, who's managing those? Are you managing them, or you giving them out to letting agencies? And you've got to look at what kind of that does for your bottom line as well. And so you always keep one eye on the figures. One of my famous sayings is that the calculator never lies. So if you're looking at some deals, don't try and manipulate the figures to try and make it work for you. If the calculator says no, the deal basically means that it's not going to happen, or it doesn't work at those specific figures, and you've got to go back and renegotiate. So there we have it, guys. I appreciate it's a little bit off tangent with the rest of the podcast that I've done, but I thought it's definitely key for you to sometimes just sit back and reassess as to where you are and whether that is the journey that you want to go down. Don't follow the money. Follow your heart. Follow what you wanted to do, and the money will come. And I'm a firm believer in that. Just stick to what your core values are and stick to what you want to do, and things will happen. But on that note, guys, I wish you all the very best of success. As always, if you want to touch base with me, you can touch base with me on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I believe on LinkedIn as well. It's all under Arsh. You can also, if you want more free content, you can also find me on YouTube under Arsh. I've got hundreds of videos there which we release at least one a week on different strategies in property. So it's a bit more of practical based examples of deals that I've kind of done. Finally, if you haven't already done so, and it kind of feels like this episode's been a big plug for the Property Investor app, which it didn't mean to be. And apologies if it's come across that way. But download the Property Investor app. It's completely free. You can go to propertyinvestorapp.co.uk, or alternatively, you can go to the App Store on either Android or Apple devices and type in Property Investor. It's a little blue house with a key in the middle. Download it, it's completely free. It takes you 2 minutes to register, and you'll see over 200 deals that we've got on the app, and we're adding more to it daily. We've got the best part of 100,000 people on our database that we're selling to daily. If you want your deal, that's probably your best place to start looking at. If you're looking to get involved in property, it's a great way to start learning about how to also structure deals as well. So there's a bit of a tip for you. On that note, guys, as always, I wish you all the very best. And remember, stay safe and keep doing what you're doing. I'll speak to you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.